Alright everyone, welcome to episode 4 of the Casting Chamber. I apologize for the delay in bringing this out. I'm doing this live this time around because chat interaction and talking to people along the way is always a nice touch as well, apart from the trolling. Actually no, the trolling's the best part, I don't know what I'm saying. But today, we're talking about preparation for broadcast and goal setting. Today should be a very simple episode because it's something that a lot of people going into broadcast make sure they don't do. Rather, they don't do it at all. You know, it's not about making sure, you need to make sure you do it. So today's going to be a really good chance for me to run through everyone into what goes on in an esports broadcast before the fact and how people kind of get set up. So I've set up a couple of tabs through here while I F11. My music's playing at the end and, you know, hopefully I don't get DMCA'd for it. It does say non-copyright sounds, but if YouTube does something about it, then, oh well. That's the basket I'm in, isn't it? And shout out to all the comments before. Shout out to all the people who've been showing interest through this series. Another reason why I have to apologize is it's taken so long for this to come out because I feel like, you know, people have really been reacting to this well, and momentum's always a good thing. So to start us off, we're going to look at preparation. What I actually do before an LPL broadcast and what you can take and put into your broadcast to make sure you have the strongest assets at hand. When I talk assets, I mean your note creating, which we will talk about that as well. This is about how you set yourself up for success and how you can work smarter, not harder. That is the first thing I want to talk about. Working smarter, not harder, is something I talk about quite a lot, and it's something I've been trying to develop each and every year, each and every broadcast as well. What I mean by this phrase is working smarter, not harder, is making sure you monopolize the information that you're going to use and your approach to what you're going to study. For example, if you are looking at Rogue Warriors having a new team and you want to learn about the team, do you go and watch 10 hours of one stream of one player? Maybe if you're particularly, you don't know like this one player better than anyone else, but wouldn't it be more useful to go and look at the individual player stats? Look at, you know, if they were ever teamed up, go through Leaguepedia and like see their journey and write down their history, which could take a couple of hours versus 10 hours for just streamlining one player or one particular scenario of players. Now, if that doesn't make sense, I'll try and clarify this even more so. If I am, and everything here today is going to be with examples as much as I can because I think examples are going to tell it well. Let's say you're coming into the LPL or you're coming into broadcast and you're like, I know this player, I know this player, I know this player. I don't know Loken. Okay, that's my weakness. And to fill up your weakness, you're going to do a bit of research on Loken. You're not going to continue going over JDG and you're going to, you know, look at the team holistically and like, and look and be like, all right, you know, let's go. And now let's go deep into Zoom, Kanavi, Yagao. You're going to look at your weakness. And working smarter, not harder here is patching up your weakness and then doing some overall revision on the team of JDG. Rather than looking at 10 hours of stream on Zoom. What is that? What am I going to get from that? Right? Yeah, Loken. What am I going to get from that? If I just look at like one player who I'm already okay on, and I just watch Zoom over and over and over, I'd be like, okay, he's playing Renekton. Out of 10 hours of stream, he's playing Renekton. His lane's still really good. He's showing comfortability on Camille. I could get that from looking at stats. That's another thing. Knowing when to VOD review and knowing when to use stats. There's a lot of elements out of Smarter, Not Harder. I implore you to look at how you can look at it in your daily life because working smarter and not harder in a form of my daily life might be... you know, like for example, like I'm looking at, you know, opening a bloody pie stall. And so I'm thinking like, well, this is just a dream. I don't want to spend everything on it. I'm not going to sit there and look at pie recipes. I'm going to read a little bit about legality because right now that's the smarter portion. Not working harder on trying to get a recipe right when I'm not in a kitchen right now and I can't use that information. So yeah, poor Zoom. So... let's give more examples because I need to nail this down better, right? Working smarter, not harder. Like, for example, if I'm doing a Rogue Warriors versus WE game for the first time, are you going to spend 10 hours on general VODs of the team? Or are you going to go to Gamepedia and look at the individual players? And then I've got a specific example that you can't see on my screen. Or like take notes of the players and then maybe go to highlights if I need to see video footage. How do they work as a team? What can I generalize? It'll depend between role because color casters a lot of the time will look very specifically on players. But working smarter, not harder still applies to them as well. You know, what can they get out of the VOD versus what can they get out of individual stats? I think it's super important to note because your hours are a commodity. You have to charge yourself in a sense as to the hours you put in. It's like any other profession. If you're putting hours and hours into studying this, it should come out the other end. It should come out on broadcast. If I study LGD and I work smarter, so you maybe look at VODs from last year. Okay, you know, Kramer's coming back in, but, you know, we talk about like new LGD with players. I'm going to go to Gamepedia. I'm going to look at those players. I'm going to write down some notes instead of scouring hours and hours of maybe LDL VODs or individual solo queue VODs when that's not going to apply to my casting. And especially within the LPL, as LP raises a really good point, within the LPL being such a big league, my hours especially are so valuable. I can't, the more and more I scour, it's like, am I wasting time here? That's the big question you should have. LDL VODs, yeah, within reason, right? But, you know, like, how many VODs are you doing? What is the purpose? What are you getting out of it? Every time you do an exercise, you need to think, why am I doing this and what am I getting out of it? If you can't answer those questions, then most likely you're not working smarter than you are harder. You're just putting in effort for the sake of it, and you might not be getting out what you put in. Really, really important. Working smarter, not harder is the biggest thing we need to start off on this video. So you need to find that focal point and you need to work from there. If my focal point is, for example, today we're going to look at EDG versus Vici, and I'm going to give you a bit of a look as to how I'll prepare for the 2021 new EDG and Vici. I could actually prepare a better team. Maybe LGD is better in this case. Let's do LGD. We're going to look at LGD versus EDG. That matchup will come once during the regular season, but we can look at how we can prepare for that. I'm going to look through and I'm going to be like, players, quick bit of history. And I'm not going to go through and go LGD VODs. One, the team's changed. That's already, you know, that's not working smarter. That's working dumber. But I'm going to start with new roster. That's a focal point for me. Let's find out about those players. And having direction is another big point of working smarter, not harder. If you need any clarification on that, let me know. Because I feel like that is very straightforward. And it's very simple to think about. Very, very simple to think about. So let's go forward. Now, before we start talking about preparation, I do also want to talk about goals. I'm just going to blank screen for a second while we shift on over and I find goals for you. Because even though like preparation is really important, and before getting into a broadcast you will do preparation, you also have to look at key goal setting and what you want going into that broadcast. I'll open it up. So, these are my goals. In a previous video, if anyone ever watched a very long stream video I did, I talked very much about goal setting and how to realistically approach this. I want to go over this again quickly. I've got short-term, mid-term, or medium-term, and long-term goals. Short-term are the period of a month span. Mid-term is 3 months, or 1 to 3 months, I like to say. And long-term goals are over the year. And of course, short-term are going to be like, you know, things I can act on quickly, right? This was the end of the year. This was from August to September. Better game awareness, making sure my team fights. I'm picking up on teleports. I'm making sure that I know like the direction the team fight's going to go, right? I'm going to have more of a conversation with my color caster. Things I can act on very quickly and I can approach almost on a day-to-day basis, but I can also keep in the back of my mind. They're the ones I'm acting on first. Midterm goals, right? Checking minimap to understand. Yes, that was a very big one, right? Making sure I understand what's going on and having the foresight to see a play coming. Those were my short-term goals because I know within the period of a month I could work on that. Midterm goals, however, were different. Staying on topic, enjoying conversation, and stop darting. It's kind of an expansion on giving more of my color and expanding on the conversation because this one is staying on topic. I had a very big problem on finding a topic I loved and enjoying it, but staying on topic and going through the conversation. I was darting from topic to topic. And while this is quite similar, this is give more to my color, basically, and that's how I expand on the conversation. Midterm, longer term, I wanted to say, well, let's stay on that topic, let's enjoy it, show them I'm enjoying the conversation, and stop jumping. That was a lot harder for me, because I could give more to my color, but I'd keep darting. So this was something I had in the back of my mind, but I'd only bring it up every couple of weeks just to make sure I was slowly progressing towards that. Hard statements, short, punchy, impactful statements, you know. And this seems, or like taking that out, like This is the game-winning play for LGD. Making punchy statements, which I did actually work on, and I think I really improved on. This is something that's quite hard because you can think about it, but it's all about placement, right time, right place, where to put it. Strengthening my fundamentals core, like fluency, tone. What else in fundamentals? You know, you talk a lot about like your presentation, pronunciation. There's so many things with fundamentals. Think voice, think basics. And team fights slowed down. Captain Flowers moment is what I want. I wanted to slow them down. Now, I didn't achieve this. I'm still working on it. But the point of midterm goals, voice management. That's right. As LP says, I know text is hard to read, but it's only because we're on a white screen. As LP says, right? And the thing about this is... Why? Okay. Sorry about that, guys. And the thing about this is... These are things that I always had in the back of my mind, but I wanted to slowly work on, but they weren't the day-by-day things. They required slow improvement. They required like, you know, my fundamentals, you know, made impactful, right? I don't know what yeah. You know, team fights made impactful. Okay, that's hard. How do I do that? Well, I have to sit down. I have to look at the words I put in. Orion's, welcome to the chat, sir. I had to put in, you know, the time and work to make sure. How does he do that? A lot of research. It's not something you can do over the course of a week and in that 1 month span. This takes a bit, right? And so midterm goals are those things that you know are going to require a little bit more effort. You know they're going to require a lot of that practice and experience. Short-term goals can be shorter versions of that, but make sure there's some difference. Like these top two are the best example, you know, that I'm talking about here. I'm just going to make the chat smaller so we can see everything going on. But you know what a midterm goal is. You're like, well, can I work towards that within a month? Not realistic? Okay. It's in the midterm. It's in the brain bank, but it's there for the sake that we know we're slowly working on it. You have to check in with these, not every 3 months, every month and a bit, if that may be every month, to make sure you're going towards that. Goals need to be reassessed every month. Long-term goals. International event outside of Rift Rivals. I wanted to make Worlds. I don't think I was good enough in the end. Okay, I have to work on that. Expand, and we'll talk about that in a second. Vocabulary, understanding what I'm saying. Vocabulary is hard. That takes a long time and a lot of repetition to make sure that you're putting those words into your brain bank again. Being known as one of the best team fighters in the world. I'd say I've got really strong hype, but I don't think this is me yet. Overtaking my previous predecessors of the LPL. Almost. I'm getting there. And that's a very egotistic thing, isn't it? But long-term goals are things I want to look at. Very holistic goals that I'm striving for the year. Right? Vocabulary is the hardest to get when you learn a language exactly. Even if you speak English, expanding your vocabulary is quite hard. These are things that take the year, that take a couple of splits. Casting is like learning a language. Yes, I agree. So the point of goals. Goals are there to set your place. You need to know what you're developing towards. You need to know where you're going. Where are you going in the short term? Where are you going in the midterm? Where are you going in the long term? You need to check in with these every month. Even the long-term goals, you'd be like, okay, how's this going? Okay, well, you know, my brand's developing, my Twitter's going up, people are giving me more honest feedback, they're liking my casting. Maybe this is a potential. I've noticed I've been expanding my vocabulary. With long-term goals, sometimes like 2 to 3 months is the check-in. I didn't check in on these every month because I think it would be too overwhelming. Midterm goals, especially since I'm looking at that every month, was the overall goal to make sure these are the ones that I'm really trying to work towards, you know, month to month to month to month, where this is like every week or so in the short-term goals. I would check in and I would say, how am I going with that? How do I feel about my progression here? The biggest part was like every cast I was going in with these, and this is our translation now. When you go into a cast, you have to have these goals in mind, but more importantly, you need to have your short-term goals in mind, because going into a cast, you need to think, what am I trying to improve on here? What am I trying to work on? You know, there's other things like working out what you're interested in, what you want to look at. We can talk about that more with the notes, but it's specifically here with goal setting. You need to go, what am I trying to give to the audience this time? What am I going to try and work on? And especially during like regular season casts, because as you get towards playoffs, you want to make sure these short-term goals and, you know, some of the midterm goals have been worked towards enough where you've leveled up, you've strengthened your fundamentals, because that's what I was working on. You strengthen some of these goals, and some of them have been ticked off. It's good to, if you tick off these goals after the month, you say great. Ticking off and everything we'll talk about in a second. You've gone into the cast with these in mind, and instead of just going, I'm just going to cast today, you're going, today I want to give more to my color and expand the conversation. After the cast, you think, have I done that? Okay, good. Leave it there for now, and then it's over the course of a month. Do you feel like you're consistently doing that? Good. Note to yourself you're doing it, and get rid of it. Add something else. You know? Add something else within reason. Adjust your short-term goals, because every month you should be changing these or highlighting them and go, I didn't achieve that because of X, Y, and Z. Midterm goals within the 3-month period, if you don't hit that, you're like, okay, why? This is serious, because you've spent 3 months. Yeah, don't be a dick. That was the best example. If you're getting towards your 3-month goals and you find like, well, I haven't been working towards this, you have to ask why. Why not? Because 3 months is a long period of time. 3 months is a very long period of time. And if you haven't worked on these, then man, like, you're in trouble. You're in trouble because like you've just spent 3 months working on casting, and I'm not saying it's the end of the world. I'm saying it's just it's an issue because 3 months in a casting year is almost half a year. Because realistically, especially for LPL is 8-9 months of the year. And then Worlds if you're lucky enough to get it. No, it's not luck. If you're the top of the top, creme de la creme. So midterm goals, when you think about it, over the period of they're 1 to 3 month goals. It's even though it didn't age well, my LPL finals speech. Yeah, look, I don't know if you're talking about IG or the actual cold cut to camera, but cold opener. But either way, yeah. So there's a lot to look at here with goals. You have to make sure you're going in. And remember to tick them off, clean them up, adapt. If you've gotten better or worse, make sure you tell yourself why. You have to adjust. And your long-term goals at the end of the year, if you haven't achieved it, that's when I kind of look through and go, all right, am I ticking these off or not? Most of these, no. And I'm disappointed. Those are your goals. Let's go to strengths. You should label down what your strengths and weaknesses are. Same document. I use Google Slides. Google Slides is just super easy. A black background, white text pops out. It's very easy to look at this and remember and to store it as well. Strengths. My strengths is voice, energy, power, LPL branding and affiliation, because remember I cast 2019 essentially as the only play-by-play because unfortunately Nigeria had voice issues. 2020 I was there with Munchables. Penguin was unfortunately not there, the other play-by-play. So, you know, my branding and affiliation as the LPL play-by-play has come through the fact that I've done a lot of the casting in the past 2 years. It's not talking bad on anyone, it's the truth. I've done a lot of the casting. And experience comes through that as well. So, those are my strengths. I've labeled those off and I go, cool, that's what I can put in my vault. That's what I know I do well. That's what I know I do well. If I need to go, why am I not casting well? Why am I failing at this? Look at your strengths and say, am I using them properly? Weaknesses. Now, weaknesses, sometimes these are going to come up, but at least you know they're there. Stumbling on points of focus in team fights. Yeah, I do a lot. Lack of knowledge in LPL in prior years. Before 2018, I'm actually quite a wreck. I have to do a lot of research there. Low vocabulary. Sometimes I sound like an ape. Ease of mind. I'm a very emotional person, and I know this. Over the past years, I've realized that if I'm in emotional turmoil, if something's going on with me, it affects my performance completely. I've gotten to the point where I will shut off my phone hours before a broadcast because just in case, if I know something's going on, if I don't think I can resolve it, I will move away from my technology and I will shut it off. I've had horrible casts because I have been in an emotional state. With my ex-girlfriend, for example, man, she was not a nice person. And she used to message me horrible things before broadcast. And I it fucking hurt me. Like, it really did. It really did. And so I'd have days where I wasn't casting well. I doubted myself. You can't have that. You gotta be in a broadcast state of mind. So ease of mind still, I would say, is my weakness. Efficiency of prep, working smarter, not harder, that we talked about, something I'm still working on, but I know it's a weakness. Making bad games great. I shoot the shit, but sometimes I feel like maybe I should make OMG vs Rogue Warriors a lot nicer. Maybe I should be like, yeah, this is a fun fiesta, guys, enjoy it. Instead of being like, this is shit. Because on broadcast, a lot of the time I'll say, what the heck is this? And Jordan and I go down that chasm, or, you know, me and Dagda do. I think Dagda's a little bit more positive, but honestly, it's kind of funny. Because I think, in a way, being realistic with the game is a big strength. But making bad games great is something I don't do, and I know it's a weakness. Identify your weaknesses. Know they're there. If you know your weaknesses, no one else can expose them. That's in life. That's in general. But also, know your weaknesses so that if it comes up, you know where to start. A weekly commitment, something I promised to do. I did that a lot during this year. VOD review on stream and YouTube and Twitter, etc, etc. I didn't actually put it on YouTube, though. Actually, my VOD reviews, yeah, in general, I only did a couple, so struggled there too. That's goal setting. Any questions? Any questions? I'm going to have a drink of water. I've just dropped my lid. We're going to wash that. More so for crazy things. Yeah, that's right. You know, crazy stuff's going on, and with those games, you know, that was a big weakness of mine, because I think one of my strengths is I'm very realistic with the game. I'm a very real caster. That's the other thing where, like, you know, my ease of mind and my emotions get involved, but a lot of the time that can be my strength. I'm a very emotional caster. Thank you, 112. I appreciate it. So these are goals. I'm going to put those in the back. And we're going to go to note-taking and how best to approach your notes. Now, being in a Premier League, we're quite lucky because, you know, our information is front row center. It's very easy to find. It's really, really easy to find. So, this is IG LGD as an example. This was the quarterfinals of 2020 summer. And here's how I did my notes. Now, already I can see, as I just scroll past, the room for improvement is spacing and presentation, but I simplified my note-taking system in 2020 to be two rows, one for IG, one for LGD, their placement during the regular season. Normally I'd go for game score down here and how they're going. You know, that's just the information I need. I'll go into cast and say LGD currently 6, you know, and they're 22 and 18 in the regular season. What we want to see is LGD act like their place. You know, they're the top 6 team, blah, blah, blah. IG, top 3 team. They finished 12 and 4 in the regular season. Like, you have that. That's there, and that helps you, and it's so easy to see. Now, this is all the information on the players, like some basic stuff, like where they started. Lungshing started on T-Bear Gaming, which became Suning in 2017 LSPL Spring. He became Xiao Al at that time as well. Promoted with the roster, you know, so on and so forth. This needs cleaning up. You know, I could enter here, enter there, do the same. I didn't finish rookie. I don't know why. I know, because he's just been on IG since 2015. But let's say, like, I wanted to clean this up, and I'd probably put coaches down below. And that's a really good way to clean it up. So I have a bit of their past experience, because even with some of these better players in the league, and it doesn't matter if you're an amateur scene, semi-pro, or pro, having a bit of context to players where new viewers tune in is always nice. If people come in and be like, oh, it's the Shy, but it'll be like, you know, and the Shy going up against WE, for anyone who doesn't know, back in 2015, this is where the Shy actually started. He was a WE streamer 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And he actually played in Challenger's career in 2015 spring as well on All Max. They didn't win the game. And, you know, came to LPL in 2017 on IG, and ever since he's been playing with them. Having history builds a story. LP raises the perfect way of saying it. Having history builds story. And story is so important in casting. Remember that story is great. We will talk a lot about this when we go into play-by-play. I want to set up some other professionals in the scene more people you should know from the League of Legends casting world talk about how play-by-plays can build story, drive attention, etc., etc. Color casters will talk about that a little bit as well. He tried out for SKT in the day, like, you know, context and story. It also drives emotion and attachment for the players, because what you want to do is you want to build attachment for these teams and players from the fans. And so what I normally have is a reminder of their brief history, no matter the player, because it's worth having their history. You can set this out differently if you prefer. You can have it in a different document. At one point, I had all the histories of players and teams in a different document. Coaches in here as well. A nice thing to talk about is coaches' experience and history. And then, what have I got? I've got their regular season so far, and I line it up next to each other. And I go, right, regular season in order. We played WE at the start, and you know, they started out really weak against WE, but it was the Suning and Rogue Warriors games that got us on track. And even though they originally lost to LGD in the regular season, there were some really strong wins. You know, FPX, Suning, EDG, you know, they got the 2-1 over V5, and they beat Top Esports, remember? Like, see how I'm just talking based off regular season. And this is stuff I talk about in cast. Remember, they beat Top Esports. So IG meant to be one of the best teams. Even RNG 2-1. Lyric goes, yeah, you know, like, and what we saw in those series, you set up your color. It's, yeah. So, like, you know, here's what I would do. If it's an LGD series, I'd bolden that. You know, and, okay, so I like LP. LP's adding some really good stuff here. You know, put it in italics if maybe it's a loss. Yeah, whatever's comfortable for you. See, for me, like, I see the 0, and that's enough for me. But for you to make it easier, sure, take that advice. Maybe put it in italics. I bolden the matchup because we're in playoffs, and remember, they've already versed in the regular season. I put it in bold so I can see it. So it jumps out to me. Ah, they actually lost against LGD. I do it on the other side. Ah, they beat IG. Or tab it out, you know? What the hell happened there? Yeah, or as... Okay, well, that's not working, but, you know, yeah, you can space it out. Tab's not working because it's pre-formatted. I don't know what I did to the document, but, you know, I could put it in italics and I could pop it out. Well, yeah, whatever. Great ideas, LP, great ideas. So I've got regular season. Then I've got key points. All right. So what is this here? Now, Ning, Rookie Baolan, extended laning phase. Stats means I want to jump to my color on this. Or I was meant to put stats in there and I never did. Funnily enough, it could be either. Extended laning phase. All right. This is information. And I remember the stat was like, IG took the most time in laning phases out of any team. It was insane. And especially these 3 players spent so much time in lane. And Baolan especially, it's funny because like Ning, Baolan, and now Ning's a jungler, of course. His time within lanes, I can't remember what it was, but Ning enables the extended laning phase with Baolan. This is part of our story. And Rookie wants to stay in mid. And so, you know, refer to stats. The new old system, Ning and Baolan reunited. They were grouping up a bit and they were actually roaming a lot. Low assist per kill team. Champs, Jace. Okay, so they've got low assists per kill team. Oh, when we saw a lot of aces or individual kills, there were a low assist count. Rookie breaks backs. This was something we talked about in our setup graphic, right? This coordinated with broadcast and our story, which was Rookie was carrying CSD, gold diff, roamer to end laning phase. He roams to end the laning phase. Key points here that we're going to talk about on broadcast. Same for LGD. Okay, these are core players. Peanut, Sheer, Lungxing. Peanut was King of Thieves, a story we were using a lot. Steal your life, steal your Baron, steal your heart, because he'd played these aggressive champions and he got a lot of Baron steals. Teleport tactics. LGD used the most TPs out of any team at one point. Bot lane battles and backdoor bonanzas. Like, they were focusing bot and their TP flanks were always set up on a flank. Their TP flank was always set, their teleports were always set up on a flank. Steal your world's hopes, yeah. Second highest first turret, you know, this speaks for itself. Dance with me was like how they played their team fights. They were they swayed in and out of fights a lot of the time. And the Baron dance as well. So we kept like that theme going. Lungxing's win rate on Ornn was a nice little touch. Okay. So key points that I'm going to talk about in the broadcast. That's what's in here. And that's why it's so nice to have these points in here so I can go down and be like, this is what I wanted to talk about. Let's bring this up. Good time to bring it up now. Killua played for the first time in summer. Then he played the WE playoff series. He played 3 out of 4, not 3/4. And so that's an important stat. It's like Killua they actually brought in, you know. And then we go to champion pool. Champion pool is important for me because I want to see what's most banned against IG, what is most banned by IG, percentages there, of course. I use Game of Legends. And then the Shy, this is what he's playing. His win rate's next to it as well. Wow, he's got a 100% win rate. Remember, as he locks his cannon in, he's got a 100% win rate. This is game number 5. The Shy does not lose. On his he's the only one playing in the league right now, 100% win rate. The Shy has 3 different champions, you know. There's a really high win rate. He's played 11 games at Jace top. Lung Xing, what does he have? Well, he's got 12 games for Renekton and 10 Ornn. What does it tell you as a player? What do the champions tell you as a player? That's why champion pools are really, really good. And then playoffs, this was just specific to the time where what they played versus WE. These were the comps. I didn't do pick and ban fully. You can, if you're interested, you can import and take snapshots from Game of Legends, put them in your document. But this is the most effective way I've found to work smarter for me as a play-by-play. This might be different for color casts. You know, maybe later on when we go through the series and we do talk to color casters, we can look at how they prep. Different colors prep. So, this is how I prep. I have, from top to bottom, I have players on the roster with brief history, or actually from top to bottom, team names. I put IG versus LGD, right? It's not blue side, red side dependent. It's who comes first in Leaguepedia. Good afternoon. Ace, good to see you. I have teams. So I remember, you should remember who's playing and set yourself up mentally for the day ahead. But just having IG, LGD, right, sets me in tone. This is for playoffs, so I had their final finish. Normally, you could just, you know, okay, they're 10-6 in the regular season, 22-18 in game score. That's not important, just has it in the side. Because for teams like these two, it's like, holy shit, IG's got 11 game differential, LGD has 4. All right, they're 12-4. I have their roster, I have IG roster on top. This is setting yourself up again. Remember, set yourself up for success. Names, bit of history, bit of brief history. Coaches down below. We've got their regular season results. Space this out however you like. Highlighted because this is a playoff matchup and I know that against LGD they lost. This makes it exciting. In the regular season, IG actually lost to LGD. They're one of the few teams they lost to because remember, they're 12-4. That generates drive and story and interest. Key points. What am I going to talk about in the game? Champion pool, right? I don't know what I just did. Champion pool. Most banned against, most banned by. Interesting talking points. And this is something that for a lot of newcasters, this is why, like, if you ever hear people umming and ahhing, it can sometimes indicate a lack of preparation. You should always have something to talk about in the game. There should always be something. And these notes are the starting point. These notes here, I will have in front of me, and maybe I'll use it 20% of the time, if that. It's if I get stuck, if it's I want to remember my direction, it's if I want to cross-reference a stat, or cross-reference something that's been talked about. History, example. I use this 20% of the time. I don't lean on this. Because a lot of the time, the most important thing is about what's going on in game, what's changing, what's adapted, what's different in this game versus the other games, what's actually important to watch out for. I don't have time to look at my notes. Sometimes when it's quiet, yes I do. But most of the time, I don't have time to look at this, nor do I want to. I think what's being shown on screen is more important. I think in essence, that's why the community was quite supportive of LPL casts, because we would often have joke, we'd be carefree sometimes, but we would always pay attention to what's on screen. We would always bring attention back. So, this is note-taking. This is preparation, another part. We've just touched on goals. We've looked at how you should be mentally setting yourself up for success in a broadcast and saying, like, today I'm going to work on this. At the end of a broadcast, did I work on that? Preparing your notes so you're not left out in the ocean. Even if you don't use them, at least they're there. And you can replicate these, especially for things like history, you know, regular season as well. Some of the key points. You can replicate these in documents. And with this format, it's super easy to lay out. You got 4 sheets of paper, you flip them over, everything's next to each other. Champ pools on third page, key points on second with previous records. First page has history. Easy. Now, I built a template here. We're going to go through and do our own little one. I realize this episode's already gone for about 30 minutes or so, so we'll try and wrap it up in the next 15. I don't want to keep everyone going. Those are goals. Those are notes. Now, resources that I use and how I would set this up. So, let's say we're going into LPL 2021, which, holy shit, is happening soon. Have we got anything? Spring. We got rosters in here, technically. Yeah, cool. What am I doing? EDG versus LGD. So now we're going to do a mock. Okay. Okay, so we're going to build that table. I haven't done this in a while. Where's table? Huh? Huh? Insert table. Okay. It's been a while. A 2x3. Right, because in the end of the day, this is how I'm going. Yeah, you barely have that much planning for one semester of teaching. Alright, so on the left we have EDG. I'm going to EDG roster. I'm going to format. I'm going to put it right in the middle. Let's align. Center. Right? Easiest way to do it is I bolden it, and you can just do this. And then from here, you know, open a new tab apparently. We go top, jungle, mid, ADC, support. Right, we space it out. We probably don't need this. We delete, bro. Probably don't need it. And maybe some key points. Remember, we don't have a record so far. We can pretend they do. WE20, IG20, RNG02. You know, and I can just replicate that. Just replicate that. Super easy. Remember what I talked about with working smarter, not harder? Little things like this as well, right? Just for the sake of changing it up. Records there. New EDG's popping, dude. Look at them. But they can't beat RNG? Ah, come on. And so, what do? Normally, I would have... if you have two screens, I'd say put Leaguepedia on one, put your notes on the other, or line them up side by side. Now, because I'm on display capture, I'm not going to do that. Right, we got Flanders. Right. Flandre. Xiaoshan. Now, if I wanted to put history here, I'd probably enter a little bit. I'd probably go down, and maybe I could change this out, and I'd be like, Flandre was a such and such. Blah, 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 blah. You know, if you want to see history there. Give it a bit of indentation. Underline if you want. Right? We're just doing this for the sake of showing you, you know, what your notes could look like. Space it out. What is most appealing for you? What can make you track information? Another part about working smarter, not harder, is setting yourself up for success in this, in the sense that your notes are easy to read because you made them beforehand. If you just blurt out information, if you just put it onto a page and it's difficult to read, you kind of screwed yourself. Right? So we're going through. Clear love. It's also Jie, right? Okay, cool. We've got our rosters. Also, writing down rosters is really good for someone who might forget players. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it doesn't show that you don't know the league. It might show that, like, you just have trouble remembering names. I have trouble remembering names. I've gotten a lot better because I always write down rosters. I do this especially. I know Dash does this from the LCS. He writes down names. I mean, a lot of people do. Let's just space it out for the sake of making it pleasing for now. Oh, we've got Viper, Hope, and Mako. We don't have a sub support on this, do we? No. So I'm literally just going back and I'm going through. And then what I would say is like, okay, make it appealing. I don't know why I indented that. Make it clean for yourself. Right? There's your roster. You can do the same over here. I'm going back and forth. I'm just putting in rosters. And then maybe I put in a... You know, maybe I also put a bit of history here. Enter space. What you do want, though, is your rosters on one page. Section off-season rumors, right? Okay. If it's early season, a section on season action / rumors. Yes, if it is early, make a different document. Because if you're writing about rosters, if you're doing this, you're either doing a full-on roster document where it's like, hey, this is the potential rosters, or if you're at this stage, you should know rosters. So if rumors would be a totally different document, right? I forgot EDG versus LGD. I'm just gonna center that again. You know, maybe I put in week 2, day 3, and then I go back to this and I go tab 0. What are they? 2 and 1. I tab because I'm messy in this case. You probably just use lining. It's better. Put it above their name. And then what LGD? 0 and 1 and 2. Okay. You know, if you need to remind yourself, then do that. Make it easy to read. This is all about what you like. Because you might not like that. You might want to change it. But this is my suggestion. Ugh. That's not my suggestion at all. God, I'm so fucking sorry. I just want to fill it. Highlight. Oh, you're not gonna... Okay, whatever. Anyway. That's the basic understanding. It's super easy, and I know people will be like, "Why are you talking about notes? You're talking about notes for..." Well, super easy. And then I dot point this. They do stuff well. You know, win worlds. Lol. You know? Like stuff we saw before. So the big part about this is I want you to get into a habit of working smarter, not harder. And that'll be like going through rosters. And are you going to watch hours of VODs on Flandre from last year? If you're a color caster, there's an argument to say so. But it's also like, is that going to give you an understanding of EDG? It's going to give you an understanding of one player. But if you're getting towards, you've got a couple of days to go, fuck the VODs. Go through. Learn a bit of history. Let's try it with Flandre, right? Let's say you don't know Flandre and you go, shit, we've got a day or so. We don't really have time to watch hours and hours of VODs. This is unrealistic. I don't think that's working smarter in this specific case. I'm going to go to stats. I'm going to go, hey, in 2020, what did Flandre play? Flandre is a really big Aatrox player. Mordecai is like, all right, so a lot of dueling top laners. Yeah, look at this, dude. His champion pool. Oh, it's interesting. Let's go to his career and see what Flandre was. He's played for 6 years. Nah, Malphite, Vladimir, Shan. You know, Flandre's played some crazy shit top. You know, Singed is there. Like, Flandre has played 623 games of League of Legends. Right? Okay, I've already learned something new. You know he's played 600 games of League of Legends? Audience be like, 600 games at competitive league? Holy shit. You go back and you go, well, okay, cool. What do I want to know about Flandre? He started League on LSPL Snake Q in 2014. Right? Who did he play with? Okay, anyone in here? Crystal. Played with Crystal. Information. You remember? I remember the Sejuani game too, weirdly enough. And so I'm going through, and you can do a brief history. He's been on Snake ever since 2019, until they rebranded, and he was still on Snake. But for the first time ever, he's on a brand new, I don't think you say brand new organization. He's out of the realms of the Snake LNG family for the first time in his competitive career. Imagine me coming on broadcast, and this is me working smarter, not harder. And for the first time ever, he's off of Snake, off of LNG. Now remember, on LNG/Snake, he didn't miss a game. Not until 2020 when Chen Lun came through, and we heard there was that public drama. Now, that's obviously requires a little bit of extra research, but you can get from Leaguepedia and just sitting here and going through, if you have the time. This is where it really draws the line. If you go through each individual split and you've heard he didn't miss a game, like I did, I went through every single split up until 2019 and I looked at match rosters. I went match rosters and Flandre didn't miss a single game until 2020 spring. He played every single game from this LSPL qualifier. Flandre was never subbed out. And this is what can be achieved with looking through Leaguepedia. Is a VOD necessary? Maybe one or two to get a feeling of how he plays. How did he play on LNG towards 2020 summer? Yes. Be specific though. Know what you're going in for. Otherwise, just watching VODs is a waste of time. Unless you have a goal going in. And so that's what Leaguepedia can be used for. A resource for history. A resource for, play patterns potentially, right? I'm in tournament results. I can also, go to match history. What did we see? He played these games. Okay, I'm already deducting the time of me searching and scrounging through VODs. Because if I go to match history, I know that he played versus DMO in LPL Summer on this date. Okay, when was that? He played Jace versus Renekton. Oh, he's actually up 72 CS. Okay. So it looks like he maintains the level as CS leads, like only a couple of times in the set versus Jace, which you're meant to lose that lane. Set versus Renekton. Okay. Renekton more. If you want to analyze it, you can. Leaguepedia, a lot of text resources can be good. And then the other thing is, if I'm going to, let's go down. If I want champ pool is another thing you might want to talk about. And 100% I would recommend it. And so you go into LPL. I use Game of Legends. Sandstorm, good to see you. If you're just tuning in now, we literally just talked about goals and setting up notes, templates, what I like to use. Goal setting before a cast and goal setting in general. This will be up on YouTube. If anyone's... people will already be on YouTube now watching it, but yeah. This will be put up to YouTube as episode 4. And so this is LPL, right? Regional finals. Okay, I want to go to summer. And maybe I want to look at, what the meta was back then. What was Flandre doing as a player? If you want to be specific. But another part about working smarter is I go, well, okay, now I'm looking at, let's pretend they've played. It's just being quiet. Oh, good, sir, good. Lurking's fine. And I want to go, right, EDG in summer. What were they doing? Is it the same roster? Oh, we got Jeja on there, who probably won't play. Scout, Mako. What were they doing? Mako was doing Nautilus, 12 games of Nautilus, 6 a set. Bit of KDA in there as well. If you're starting out a season, champ pool's not going to be there because you're changing metas, especially with League of Legends going into season 11. Obviously, being relevant now, no champ pool's going to really be the same. And so things like that won't matter. But let's say you're in the middle of a season. I go to Game of Legends. I go, okay, he's played 14 games at least in. 4 games of Volibears is next played. But he's 100% win rate and a 12 KDA. Worth putting down. Right? Flandre is the kind of guy who'd play Omniso Mundo. But having that information down there so you can bring it up and be like... And this is the first time we see him on the Camille in a very long time. And... Flandre is the type of player who he's been playing Aatrox. He's been playing a lot of Mordekaiser when no one else would. So it's interesting to see him back on these kind of meta picks, and he's already up 20 CS in lane. Do you see how it pushes you forward for the story? Because you have a strong base of knowledge that you've done from your preparation. And that's why preparation for things like rosters is so important. That's why going into a broadcast, it's how you take your notes. And even if you only use them 20%, at least they're there. They are your strong, fundamental, I was going to say platform, right? Something you can't fall off. Because if you are struggling, if you want to talk about something that's maybe just not what's on the screen, then this keeps you balanced. This keeps you very, very balanced. And I think balance is really important in casting. So 2 big resources I would recommend finding your way around is Leaguepedia. Go into the nitty-gritty of Leaguepedia. If you're studying for new players, if you're maybe starting up a league and or you're starting up a cast of a league, if it's amateur, you're not going to be able to use Leaguepedia. Let's be honest. So then where do you go? That is a pretty good question for a lot of people. Well, then you have to talk to the community. Then you have to actually talk to the tournament organizers and say, hey, can I get the solo queue accounts of these players? And then you go to OPGG, and OPGG Garena shutdown notification is cool. But then, you know, you type in, right? Okay, Hysterics. And what is Hysterics playing? Oh, and what you can do in amateur and semi-pro tournaments is you can use OPGG. And if you can't use Game of Legends, you know, OPGG, you want to look at, you know, solo queue games. And if you want to take it that step further, then you talk to the tournament organizer and you say, hey, can you reach out to the players for me? Is that possible? Does this seem appropriate? If they have coaches, you know, can I reach out to the team organization itself? Can I ask them about tournaments in the past? You know, what is this organization called? Okay, cool. Look up the organization and then find out the information from them about the tournaments they've competed in the past. Get to know your root and like the root of the team and everything they've done. So you come in over prepared, because coming in over prepared is the best feeling to any broadcast. Absolute best feeling. And so if you're doing amateur or semi-pro, OPGG, look at their solo queue. That's probably where you start. See if they've competed in any tournaments at all. And if not, just come in and go in and have some fun, because sometimes there are going to be games where you don't prepare because you know you actually can't. Maybe solo queue's usually always available, but you know, where I work in a non-English speaking country, if I did a tournament like that, I wouldn't know. Because one, Chinese League of Legends, you can't use OPGG. Two, the app you can use is in Chinese and only on the phone. But even then, if I was really searching for it, I would go and talk to maybe some of the other Chinese casters I work with, maybe some of the people in the community, and say, hey, can you find this player for me? Or can you tell me about this player? There's always a way. There's always a way to find out more information about the people you're casting. Even if it is a solo queue tournament, even if it's a 5 versus 5, and the people in the tournament are a bunch of solo queue shitters. Dude, look at their solo queue. See what they've been playing. Be like, this top laner, he's a really, really big Singe one trick. And the crazy thing is, you know, running out with Singe to game 1, they knew that. And so this is why this is a perfect counter set up for your color. I'm speaking specifically as a play-by-play, but like, it doesn't matter if you're a play-by-play or a color. Research is crucial for a broadcast. You need to come in prepared, and over-preparation is always a nice feeling. Always recommended. Let's review. Let's go over, because it's been a meaty episode. I appreciate everyone sticking around. First things first. Goal setting. Make sure you're going into broadcast with goals in mind. Set up your casting year. If you want this to be successful, you need to know where you're going each step of the way. Preparation's key, and short-term goals, mid-term goals, medium-term goals, long-term goals. Absolutely ideal. Note your strengths and weaknesses. Seal your strengths off. Know that's what you're good at. Remember your weaknesses, because you might have to touch on them if something goes wrong. For example, my weaknesses here, my ease of mind. I need to make sure I'm easy going into a broadcast. If I'm not, then how do I fix that? Know what it is. It's okay, Ace. We're finishing up anyway, so I appreciate you coming through here. And as we're finishing up, a reminder that Leaguepedia, research your rosters like I will be doing. You know, use your notes very smartly. Very smartly. Wouldn't that be ironic? In a smart way. Right? I set up with lanes with a bit of history, their record, if they've already played games, key points to remember going into game, champion pool as well. A reminder of the team at the top, maybe the time, when is the match taking place. Right? This is a good template, maybe a bit messier, of what I take into broadcast. I over prepare. I have as much information as possible. Yeah? Goals is a big part of preparation as much as notes are. Use the resources that are free. They're amazing. Leaguepedia, Game of Legends, and if you don't have that, OPGG is a perfect way to finish it off. Thank you, everybody. This is I'm glad I could finally get to episode 4. The casting chamber is something that I really want to keep working on, but I had a couple of back and forths recently, so I'm glad I could finally get to this. So episode 4 complete.